Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to put on our sports scientist hats and dig into something that might literally completely change how you approach your fitness routine. We're diving deep into the hard data to uncover exactly why a 20-minute workout is actually neurobiologically superior to a 30-minute one when it comes to your brain health. That's right, for maximizing your cognitive performance, shorter isn't just easier, it's actually better.
Here's our quick playbook for today. We'll be tackling the myth around time barriers, finding that perfect 20-minute sweet spot, breaking down hormones like lactate and BDNF, looking at brain health across different age groups, learning how to dodge the overtraining trap, and finally, building out a highly actionable weekly schedule.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the time barrier myth.
So we've all been conditioned to think that more is always better, right? I mean, we naturally assume that if we have the energy in the tank, pushing through a 30-minute high-intensity run just has to yield better cognitive and physical results than stopping at the 20-minute mark. But is that actually true? Or are we just, torturing ourselves for extra brain gains that literally don't even exist?
Well, clinical sources consistently highlight that a lack of time is the absolute most common barrier for people trying to persist in regular exercise. This is especially true for busy young professionals. But here's the amazing secret we've uncovered. Lacking time? It actually turns out to be a massive biological advantage if you know how to use it. You don't need an hour. You don't even need 30 minutes to optimize your brain. Let's move to the lab data in section 2, which makes a rock-solid case for what I like to call the 20-minute sweet spot. To really understand the science here, we first need to get familiar with two absolutely crucial proteins. First up is BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of this stuff as literally miracle-grow for your brain. It plays a massive role in neuroplasticity, helping your neurons survive, grow, and build those new synaptic connections that are absolutely vital for learning and memory. The second protein is VEGF-A. You can think of this one as the infrastructure developer. It stimulates the building of new blood vessels in your brain, which ensures your neural networks are getting all the optimal oxygen and nutrients they need to perform at their absolute peak.
Now, when we look at the clinical trial data comparing healthy young men doing 20 minutes versus 30 minutes of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, the results are honestly staggering. The 20-minute group saw a massive spike in their BDNF serum levels, going up by 5.17, along with similar boosts in VEGF-A. But the 30-minute group, their BDNF levels didn't just fail to rise, they actually dropped below their resting baseline, down by 0.13. Basically, pushing that extra 10 minutes completely wiped out the neurotrophic benefits.
And this brilliantly illustrates how those protein levels translate into real, measurable brain power. Researchers gave these subjects cognitive tests right after their workouts, specifically the Stroop test to measure executive function and the digital span test for memory. The 20-minute group? They significantly improved their scores and response times immediately after exercising. But the 30-minute group experienced zero immediate cognitive improvements. None. They were just left with a body totally flooded with high metabolic stress.
So, what exactly goes wrong in the body between minute 20 and minute 30? Let's unpack that in section 3, hormones, lactate, and BDNF. During exercise, your contracting muscles are constantly sending signals across the blood-brain barrier. And amazingly, about 75% of the BDNF circulating in your bloodstream is actually produced by the brain itself. It's an activity-dependent release, meaning your brain releases it when it's stimulated by the exact right amount of physical stress. It all comes down to a biological battle, dictating that physical stress. On one side, we have lactate. A short, intense interval produces a little bit of lactate, which acts as a fantastic signaling molecule to stimulate that BDNF release. However, as you push toward 30 minutes, lactate accumulation spikes, acting as a key measure of severe exercise fatigue. And this triggers the other side of the battle. Cortisol, that's your body's primary stress hormone. Pushing your body to that 30-minute mark of high-intensity effort unleashes a massive spike in cortisol, and this excessive stress response completely suppresses the cognitive benefits and halts BDNF synthesis. It essentially cancels out all the good work you just did.
We call this the Goldilocks zone. Exactly 20 minutes of high-intensity effort serves as the minimum effective dose. It's perfectly calibrated to provide just enough lactate to stimulate your brain's miracle grow without triggering that harmful hormonal cascade of cortisol that comes from prolonged metabolic stress.
Okay, but how does this apply if you aren't a healthy 20-something? That brings us to Section 4, Brain Health Across Ages.
As we age, our physiological resilience to physical stress naturally shifts. For healthy young adults, acute 20-minute high-intensity sprints provide the absolute maximum cognitive benefits. But for older adults, pushing to that same high intensity might spike cortisol levels way too much. The clinical evidence actually shows that older adults get the best neuroplasticity and preservation of hippocampal volume with moderate aerobic exercise, like a brisk walk. And for Alzheimer's patients, lower intensity, continuous movement is absolutely key. It helps mitigate cognitive decline by preserving brain structure, all without causing the excessive metabolic stress that their bodies would really struggle to recover from. Now, for the busy professionals looking to maximize their gym time, let's move to Section 5 and carefully map out how to avoid the overtraining trap. I want you to think of your testosterone to cortisol ratio, your TC ratio, as your body's physiological bank account. Testosterone represents the deposits. It indicates an anabolic state and supports BDNF. Cortisol, on the other hand, represents the withdrawals. So at 30 minutes of high-intensity training, your body is simply making far too many cortisol withdrawals, leaving your entire system metabolically bankrupt and overly fatigued.
Let's break down step by step how prolonged exercise actually becomes neurotoxic. Step 1, your intense effort exceeds 20 minutes. Step 2, the stress hormone cortisol overtakes the beneficial lactate signaling. Step 3, your T/C ratio completely plummets, causing severe metabolic stress. And step 4, which is truly fascinating, this prolonged metabolic stress causes local muscle tissue injury. Because your body desperately needs to repair those damaged muscles, it literally reroutes and uses up the BDNF and VEGF-A that were meant for your brain, applying them to muscle repair instead. Basically, your brain loses out to your biceps.
Now that we've totally dismantled the more is better myth, let's hit Section 6, your brain-boosting weekly schedule.
This timeline right here outlines an exact, highly effective 20-minute clinical protocol. Start with a 0 to 5-minute warm-up. From minutes 5 to 15, hit your intervals. 90 seconds of a hard sprint, followed by 90 seconds of active recovery. Then use the final 5 minutes, from 15 to 20, to cool down. This routine spikes your lactate just enough to trigger that BDNF release and gets you out of the gym before cortisol can take over. I've designed this sample weekly schedule based strictly on the data, perfectly blending intensity with much-needed recovery. Monday and Wednesday, those are your 20-minute HIIT days, brief, intense, and highly neurogenic. Tuesday is active recovery, just to keep the blood flowing. Thursday is a full rest day. Friday, you mix it up with 30 minutes of moderate walking, which we know provides a different kind of aerobic benefit that also really supports brain health. And the weekend is just for light leisure activity. This precise mix prevents central nervous system fatigue while optimizing your cognitive performance all week long.
So remember these critical tips to avoid that overtraining trap. Keep your high-hit sessions strictly under 20 minutes. Use that TC ratio concept and really listen to your body's fatigue signals. Mix in moderate intensity to avoid burnout, and above all else, respect your recovery days. Your brain absolutely needs that downtime to absorb the miracle grow. I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder the next time you go to set your treadmill timer. Are you sacrificing your cognitive edge by overworking your body in the gym? Is that extra 10 minutes of sweating actually giving you an edge, or is it literally holding your brain back? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, guys, and remember to train smart.